Jiri Prochazka sends fiery message to new UFC light heavyweight champion Jamahal Hill, who never lost his belt, is already staking his claim to a future fight. Just moments after Hill captured the vacant 205-pound title with a lopsided decision win over Glover Teixeira in the UFC 283 main event, Jiri Prochazka took to social media with a message for the new champion. Surrounded by trees with snow falling all around him, Prochazka lived up to his warrior roots while delivering a subdued congratulations followed by a fiery warning aimed at Hill. "Congratulations," Prochazka said. "I'm coming. I'm coming."
Congratulations. I'm coming. I'm coming!
It was a ferocious response from Prochazka, who relinquished the UFC light heavyweight title after he suffered a brutal shoulder injury that forced him to drop out of a planned rematch with Teixeira that was originally scheduled for this past December. In the wake of the injury, Prochazka opted to surrender the belt rather than hold up the division, although the first attempt to crown a new champion came up short. Magomed Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz battled to a majority draw at UFC 282, which prompted UFC President Dana White to then immediately shift gears to book a new title fight between Hill and Teixeira 1 month later at UFC 283. Unlike the previous fight, Hill left no doubt with his performance as he dominated Teixeira through all 5 rounds en route to securing 50-44 scorecards across the board to claim the vacant title. Despite dealing with a serious shoulder injury and the subsequent surgery, Prochazka has insisted that Hill be back in a matter of months, which means he could potentially serve as Hill's first title defense later in 2023. UFC 283, the morning after. Team Teixeira hopes for a miracle, takes further abuse. In July 2018, Glover Teixeira was soundly out-wrestled by Corey Anderson to a 30-27 decision loss. The Brazilian veteran was quickly approaching his 40th birthday, and he'd now lost 3 of his last 5 fights. Nobody would have given him anything but respect had Hands of Stone walked away then, 16 years into his professional mixed martial arts, MMA, career. At that point in time, does anyone have any idea how long the odds were for Teixeira to become champion? They're simply incalculable. All the pieces had to fall into place perfectly, from Jon Jones abandoning the division to Anderson dipping off to Bellator. Meanwhile, Teixeira had to actually win the fights, consecutively winning 5 fights against 5 younger opponents just to get a second title opportunity. He was flash knocked out 3 times in those wins. That's what made his eventual title win over Jan Blachowicz so incredible. The cosmic dominoes lined up, and the fighting world recognized the miraculous nature of a newly crowned 42-year-old champion. It was a tremendous. Everyone watching recognized that all of Teixeira's hard work and resiliency combined perfectly with factors beyond his control to create an amazing moment. Reality set in a bit when Teixeira's body failed him in the 5th round of his war with Jiri Prochazka. Fans judged his guillotine attempt harshly, but is it really that shocking that an athletic foe a decade younger was better able to capitalize in the 24th minute of a war of attrition? Circumstance gave Teixeira one final opportunity, a chance against a new opponent, Jamahal Hill, no less. On paper, there were many areas where Teixeira could win UFC 283's pay-per-view, PPV, main event last night, January 21, 2023, in Rio de Janeiro. It was perfectly reasonable to hope that the dominoes still lined up, that a second miracle could play out for a similarly joyous occasion. Unfortunately, nobody told Hill. He seemed really intent on smacking Teixeira around the cage, and he did pretty much just that from the first bell. It was a great performance, but it was also one that quickly grew uncomfortable. This fight didn't need to go beyond the 4th round. Teixeira was repeatedly trying to swipe the blood from both eyes without any success. There was a distinct moment where Hill didn't seem to land anything that devastating, especially compared to all the huge shots from the previous 3 rounds, but Teixeira still wobbled backward. He was no longer stable on his feet and no longer reacting well to shots, relying on the cage for a sense of his bearings. Realistically, he was no longer intelligently defending himself. The referee could have stopped the content, and the corner certainly should have. Instead, Teixeira walked out for the 5th, and while he scored a surprise takedown, his inability to keep up with the scrambles was a clear demonstration that Teixeira was operating on autopilot. There would be no second miracle.